Hi happy campers, welcome to Camp Kitchen again at Camp Make a Dream, Montana. So it is November and it is the month of Thanksgiving, and we all give thanks for this incredible long year and what we've gone through, and we're still going through. And today we're going to do a couple of dishes, because unlike the traditional Thanksgivings that we've had with the massive families and get-togethers, there's a lot of us that are going to be just our family, and we are going to do a stuffed rolled turkey breast, and this is for 2 to 4 people. And then we're going to do a apple cider donut bundt cake. Now the cake itself is going to be the same, but we're going to do 2 different toppings for this. We'll do the traditional cinnamon and sugar with the butter glaze on that, and the other one is kind of for the adult, and that's going to be a sugar glaze with Fireball whiskey. So I think you're going to enjoy it. And we're going to start with the turkey, and boned out this turkey, and I've made a broth, so we'll have the turkey stock for our stuffing in that. And I'm going to show you real quick how to butterfly a turkey breast. And you can buy a boneless turkey breast, and you can buy or just buy the turkey breast and bone it out yourself. It's pretty easy to do. You can also ask your local butcher to do this, bone it out and butterfly it for you. So I've already boned out this turkey breast, and what I'm going to do here is, you'll notice that you have the back end and then you have this ridge line on the front. So you're just going to take your knife and you're just going to start in the thickest part here, and you're just going to cut and take little cuts as you do in the thickest part about halfway up, and then you're just going to keep slicing. And you don't want to slice all the way through, so you're just going to cut that and you're going to open it up like a book. So you're going to end up with this nice turkey breast, and it's all wide open like that. So you're going to end up with this nice turkey breast, and it's all wide open like that. I'm going to take a piece of plastic wrap, and then you're going to lay this turkey breast out just like this. Now if you notice, we have the skin side facing away from us, because not all of it's going to have skin. So you also have this without the skin. And we're going to take another piece of plastic wrap, and you want it big enough so it can kind of move around in there. We're going to take our meat mallet, and you're going to use the smooth side, and you're just going to pound that out. And what you're looking for is, you don't want it paper thin, but you want it even. And so maybe about 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch thick. So we've got our stuffing all pretty much seasoned up and ready to go. And so, like I said, we've got our turkey breast pounded out, and we've got the skin side facing away from us. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of olive oil, and you're just going to rub that turkey with that. And then we're going to take that off, but we're going to add just a little bit of pepper and salt. And you want to remember that there's herbs and seasoning in the stuffing, so it's not going to be a whole lot, but it'll be enough. So now we're going to take our stuffing, and we're just going to spread that out on the turkey breast. And we're going to leave about maybe 1 inch gap around the outer edge as we do this. And like I said, stuffings are pretty cool. I mean, you can add things, apple, sausage, One of my favorite things was the oyster stuffing when we lived down in the coastal area of Astoria. Shockingly though, I learned that Rocky Mountain oysters don't come from the ocean. So you kind of want to use what you got and make it the way you like it. So we've got this just all nice, and you can see it's got a nice edge around it. And I'm using these gloves just because when you're working with raw poultry, you want to make sure everything stays nice and clean and you're not cross-contaminating things. So now we're just going to take this and we're going to start rolling this up. And it's going to be not a tight roll because you want things to kind of expand. And so now you'll have this, and as you'll see, it'll be turkey with the skin side up. And you just kind of tuck in those edges. And so what you're going to do is tie this up with a string. And we'll do the other half when we're done here. So, like I said, it's a loose tie. You just want to keep it together, and we're just using a butcher's twine that you can buy in the stores. Alright, so we've got both of our turkey breasts all rolled and trussed up. Now we're going to put them into a roaster, and we're going to put some olive oil into the bottom of this pan. And then we're going to finish seasoning the outside of these breasts. And when we put these into the pan, we're going to want to have them skin side up. And that nice turkey fat and everything will drip down, and that stuffing that we have inside is also going to help keep these nice and moist. And then we will cook them just perfect. And we are going to put a rack in here. Now if you don't have an oven rack, you can slice some onion and a little carrot and celery and lay that in the bottom, and then set these turkey breasts on top of that, and that will help also. So again, we're going to go skin side up, and the seam is going to be face down. And then we're just going to finish doing the salt and pepper on the top of these breasts. Perfect. This is so tasty. You know, you might have to spend the holidays with fewer people, but there's simply no reason why you should not enjoy it and pamper yourselves. And that's kind of what this is. You can simply pamper yourself. So now I have these set up, and we're going to put them in a 375-degree oven, which is preheated. And we're going to let this cook for about an hour to an hour and a half. And because it's boned out and everything, it's going to cook faster than a traditional turkey. And that's kind of one of the nice things about this also, is the fact that you know, you don't have to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and put a 40-pound bird in the oven and roast it and do everything that you do. So we're going to let this cook, and then when we pull it out, we're going to temp it with a meat thermometer. What you want is that turkey breast in the thickest part at about 150, 155 degrees. And so when we take that out, and I'll show you when we do, we're going to tint that with a little bit of aluminum foil and let it rest. And what that does is it'll keep cooking, and it'll cook up to an internal temp of about 165 degrees, which is perfect for a bird. And then we'll carve it and enjoy. So now what we want to do, alright, so we've temped our turkey out to 155 degrees. And we're going to pull that out of the oven. And I don't know if you can get a shot of that or not. But we're going to tint that and just let that rest. So like I said, that will continue cooking until for another 10 to 15 minutes. Alright, so we've added our cake batter to the wet ingredients. We've mixed that and scraped down the sides so it's all nicely incorporated. So now we're going to do these Bundt pans. And any cake pan or Bundt pans, it's very important that you really get these greased down. And you want to use a oil with a flour mix in it if you're using a spray-on. If not, you're going to oil this and then you're going to dust it with flour and keep it from sticking. So you really want to get these good and sprayed down heavily. Alright, so we've got our Bundt pans all nice and coated and ready to go. And we're going to pour in our cake mix. And we'll get those in there. And now if you want to do one cake, this will do one 12 cup Bundt pan. Or in this case there's two 6-inch pans. And you can also buy these Bundt pans with like cupcake size and make the miniatures so everybody has their own little pan. But what we're going to do, this is just perfect, and just add those so they're evenly in both pans. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put these in the oven at about 350 degrees, and they're just going to cook it in there very nicely. And then we'll pull those out when we stir a toothpick and it comes out clean. We're going to let these rest for about 10 to 15 minutes. And while they're doing that, we're going to make our frosting for that. So one of them is just a simple melted butter and cinnamon and sugar, and the other one is we have a little over a quarter cup of powdered sugar, and we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of the apple cider. And we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of the Fireball cinnamon whiskey. Oh, this is for the adults. We're going to mix this in there, and then we can add sugar or more liquids till we get the consistency that we like. And then what we will do is this will be drizzled on the cake. And for this, the cake really does need to be cooled down to about room temperature. So while that cake continues to cool, we will work on that other frosting, because that one actually you want to put on while the cake is warm. And we'll get that going here in just a second. Alright, so now we're going to make an apple cider donut cake. And you can do this from scratch with the flours and everything, or if you're like me and you see cake mixes that go on sale, I just buy them and it makes it a lot easier. So one thing you will notice is on your normal cake mix, it calls for 3 eggs. So we're using 4, and that's going to make this even a lighter, fluffier cake. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a ½ cup of oil. And we've got 1 cup of applesauce. And now we're going to add a cup of apple cider. Now, I know you're going to think apple juice, apple cider is the same thing, but it's not. And you really do want to use apple cider for this recipe. It has less of the sugars and stuff. Apple juice is pasteurized, and so the apple cider is, like you can see, is a lot more of a concentrated mix, and it just has that better apple flavor. And I'm going to take a little second here, because sometimes, like if you're out camping or something, or one time I was on a deer hunt, and one of the kids had a birthday. So here I am in camp, and I wanted to make the kid a birthday cake, but we really didn't have anything to do. Well, I did have a package of cake mix, and what I did have was the spiced apple cider mix that you just add water to and sip. So if you find yourself missing some ingredients or anything like that, you just add a packet of this. And this is equal to 1 cup of spiced apple cider. So we're still going to add a few little cinnamon and things into this, but this just kind of gives it that more flavor. And cake is all about the flavor. So we're going to add our eggs. And I know you're going, Chef Joe, normally we mix all the dry ingredients together and then we add the wet. And you can do that, but what I find is, especially if you're making the cake from scratch, the more you mix and beat the cake, the more gluten gets into it and the denser and tougher your cake is. So I always, and some people like the brownies I make, so here's my secret to the brownies, is you mix all the liquids first, and that way you're not overbeating the dry ingredients. So we're just going to mix that up there, and then we're going to add our cake mix to it. Alright, so we've added our cake batter to the wet ingredients. We've mixed that and scraped down the sides so it's all nicely incorporated. So now we're going to do these Bundt pans. And any cake pan or the Bundt pans, it's very important that you really get these greased down. And you want to use a oil with a flour mix in it if you're using a spray-on. If not, you're going to oil this and then you're going to dust it with flour and keep it from sticking. So you really, really want to get these good and sprayed down heavily. For these. We're going to let these rest for about 10 to 15 minutes. And while they're doing that, we're going to make our frosting for that. So one of them is just a simple melted butter and cinnamon and sugar, and the other one is we have a little over 1/4 cup of powdered sugar. And we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of the apple cider. And we're going to add a couple of tablespoons of the Fireball cinnamon whiskey. Ooh. This is for the adults. Now, we're going to mix this in there, and then we can add sugar or more liquids till we get the consistency that we like. And then what we will do is this will be drizzled on the cake. And for this, the cake really does need to be cooled down to about room temperature. So while that cake continues to cool, we will work on that other frosting, because that one actually you want to put on while the cake is warm. And we'll get that going here in just a second. Alright, so we've got our cakes out of our pans and we're letting them cool. So this first one, we've got about 3 tablespoons of butter melted, and we're just going to brush that on here. And be liberal with the brush and let that butter soak into this cake. And like I said, this is an apple cider donut cake. So if you like those little glazed donuts, you're going to love this one. And it's got so much flavor in it from the packets and the apple cider and apple sauce that it just makes it very good. I don't know, you might be thinking, oh, I gotta stay in shape, I gotta look good for the holidays. Well, you know, we all set our clocks back last weekend, and the proper thing to do is set your scales back about 10 pounds also. So why would you deprive yourself of eating? I'm just saying, don't judge me. So now we're just going to sprinkle, this is a cinnamon and sugar combination on here, and we want to get that inside. And that is just going to be perfect. Now, for this one, we've let this cool a little bit longer. And this is the spice mix we made. It's just runny enough to where it's just going to drizzle all over and still soak into this cake and get underneath it. So you're just going to take this and you can have fun, make any kind of lines you want, just as long as it's all drizzling down. And you know, this nice thing about this is if you don't have enough, you just make more. So while we got our desserts finishing up, our turkey has been resting, and we're going to get ready to plate that. And like I said, I didn't do side dishes because everybody's got their favorite side dishes. And you know, the green beans with the French onion casserole, that's always a great standby, and sweet potatoes and all of that, salads. So you enjoy what you like as your side dishes. And like I said, this is just kind of a little treat for a smaller Thanksgiving that we'll be having, or you'll be having, just because of our current environment. There's our finished products right there, and now we'll get that turkey and we'll put it on a platter and slice that up and we'll be good to go. Alright, so everything's finally finished, and it actually, this whole meal is done in about 2 hours. So the benefit of this cooking for smaller crowds is you're not cooking all day, and you can actually fit everything in the oven with the side dishes, whether it's the green beans casserole or sweet potatoes or whatever you like to have for your side dish. It works well. So when we're slicing this, you're going to slice it about a ½ inch thick, and you'll see how it's got all the nice stuffing and everything inside of it. And gravy you can make with the soup stock or gravy stock from the pan, and then that's all there is to it. The cakes or children's cinnamon and the adult fireball. So I hope you enjoy, and we'll see you again.